The safe was wide open. Stacks of cash, a medal of honor, a trap, waiting to see if she'd betray him. But what this black maid did next shook the entire house to its core. In the heart of old Savannah, behind gates wrapped in iron tradition, lived a man who had seen everything war as well. And the worst of people. Mr. Aldridge Lancaster III was a billionaire banker whose pride wasn't in his fortune, but in his control. Nothing escaped his gaze. Not even the woman who polished his floors and served his morning tea. Her name was Miriam, a quiet, dignified black woman in her early 40s, with a posture carved by resilience and a voice like velvet. She had been working at the Lancaster estate for 6 years, never once late, never once rude, never once caught glancing where she shouldn't. But in Mr. Lancaster's mind, loyalty was only proven when tested. One morning, with deliberate precision, he left the wall safe wide open. It was no ordinary safe. Inside it lay over $500,000 in clean, crisp cash, a military medal, and a sealed envelope marked confidential. Enough temptation to challenge even the noblest soul. He didn't say a word to Miriam that day. He simply stood in the shadows of the hallway, watching silently as she entered the room with her cleaning cart, and saw the open safe. Time seemed to freeze. Would she glance? Would her hands twitch? Would curiosity take hold? But what happened next? It wasn't what he expected. Miriam stared at the safe for a long moment. Not in temptation, but in sorrow. She didn't step closer. She didn't touch the door. She closed her eyes just for a second and whispered something too soft for even the walls to hear. And then she kept cleaning. Not a step closer. Not a hand raised. Just a cloth, a spray, and a woman doing what she was hired to do. Mr. Lancaster felt a pit in his stomach. Not guilt, not yet. Just confusion. This wasn't the reaction he had planned for. Later that day, Miriam returned to the room with a tray of tea. But instead of placing it where she usually did, she laid it gently on the edge of the open safe, and left a note beside it. When Lancaster returned to the room, the safe was untouched. His hands trembled slightly, not with fear, but with something he hadn't felt in years. Humility. He picked up the note. It read, "Sir, I noticed your safe was open. I didn't feel it was my place to touch it. I made you chamomile teats, good for reflection." Miriam *. That night, Mr. Lancaster didn't sleep. He thought about how many people had smiled at him for his wealth. How many had stolen from him despite earning 6 figures. And yet the woman he trusted least honored him the most. The next morning, Miriam found an envelope on her cart. Inside it was a check for $50,000 and a handwritten note that read, "Miriam, you've taught me more about honor than any boardroom ever did. This isn't payment, it's an apology." Aldridge, her hands shook as she read it. Not for the money, but because for the first time, someone powerful had finally seen her. Sometimes the most powerful test of character isn't what you do when people are watching, but what you choose when you think no one sees. Miriam didn't need money to prove her worth. Her dignity was priceless. Kindness echoes. Character shines. Trust isn't given, it's earned.